On here. Sylvia, good morning. And Umberto, did I see you pop on?
Hi, Gretchen.
There he is. Okay, well, good morning to you all. I'm very glad you're here. I'm glad to be here. I'm going to just jump in and share my screen and we'll get going on our presentation. Sorry about that. Do not know why it popped up like that, but we'll take it. Let me just adjust this. I can see your faces. So good morning. Yes, welcome to managing the ESL multi-level class. Emphasis on the managing. That's the tough part, is it not? And I am your facilitator guide. My name is Gretchen, and I'm sure that you've already had a chance to see my quick introduction, but the most important thing for you to know is that I am an adult educator just like you. I've been in the California field for 30 years. Prior to that, I bounced around doing some work overseas. But here I am and welcome. Thank you for coming. And I'm happy to share this journey with you. So first we'll start out with our objectives for this webinar. Why are we here and why are we attending this webinar today? Well, first and foremost, we want to develop a community of online colleagues. Now that probably is more important than it's ever been before, this whole online thing. And I do like face-to-face, but in these 2 years, I have learned about the power of online communities. And I kind of think that of us as like a pen pal group where we can learn and share through the written words and our ideas. And I think it's very powerful and can be. And we know that we have one thing in common. We are all adult educators and we all have an assignment or will have an assignment or want to have an assignment of teaching ESL. So that brings us together in a good way, I think. Another big objective is to understand how this online course works. I'm a big picture person. I like to know what I'm in for. You're in for some good stuff, nothing scary, all good. And finally, we will explore the instructor and student roles in a multi-level class. So before we get going too deep into this, we want to define multi-level or attempt to define multi-level. So if you could go down to your chat box and please type in a one word or a one hyphenated word or a phrase, popcorn style. What is a characteristic of designated multi-level ESL class? Designated is underlined there. That means that the class appears in its course outline, the course subject that goes to the state. It says that it's multi-level. That means anybody from a beginning level to advanced can be dropped into your class and weehaw, there you go. So go ahead, I'm gonna pull up the chat and see, I see some responses coming in. Unknowns, indeed. Lots of unknowns, hard to anticipate, isn't it? So I'll give you a few more minutes to type anything in. Okay, any other ideas? There's lots of variety of skills and abilities, of course. It can be like a juggling act. I heard somebody once in a workshop I was in describe it as like spinning plates. You know, that circus act where people are actually keeping the plates spinning. Um, it can be like that, indeed. It needs a lot of support, doesn't it? It needs probably a little more support than your average or typical ESL class, and it needs to be very organized. I just want, thank you for Sharon, Aaron. Thank you for sharing, Aaron. I appreciate your comment about the unknowns. There's so many unknowns. I want to say that going forward, I won't continue to say multi-level ESL because I will slur it. So I'm just going to call it MESL. And that's kind of the way that I describe multi-level ESL. That's a characteristic. It's a little messy at times, but it's good messy, controlled messy. So the overall arching purpose of this 4-week course is to present strategies for planning lessons for students of widely varying language skills. The first time I read this slide, I read wildly, like wee-haw, wildly varying language skills. And wouldn't you agree that that's very true? And secondly, and just as importantly, is to engage each student in the learning process. I think that all of us know that it's a typical thing that happens is that we aim too high or we aim too low and we teach to the middle. And in MESL classes, we really want to avoid that as much as possible. And in this course, we are going to learn some tips and strategies how not to do that or how to teach to all learners. As for the course objectives, this 4-week course, these are some of the things that we are going to learn and discover together. We are going to identify characteristics that distinguish multi-level or MESL from single level class. We are going to identify and practice developing activities for whole group, likability, and cross-ability groups. This is golden. This is really golden. And even more exciting, we are going to learn how to match those grouping strategies appropriately in the 6 stages of a lesson plan. In a few slides down the road, we're going to look at what the 6 stages of a lesson is. We're going to just review that in case we need to, because we do always. Even after 30 years, I need to review. So also, we are going to develop a lesson for a multi-level ESL class. That's fun. We are going to identify resources for managing and teaching MESL. Some of those resources are the ideas that we share with each other. And we're going to develop solutions to the probably myriad of challenges that are presented by that very special MESL class. So before we jump into course expectations for you as participant and expectations for me as your facilitator guide, Grace has popped a poll here. Have you ever taken a CalPro online course before? Okay, well, I think there's 3 of us, 3 participants here and 3 facilitators. So it looks like the majority of us have not. That's really great because you're here and you're going to discover that this is a phenomenal way to learn and advance your skills to help yourself and your students. And let's exit out of here. Thank you for responding to that. So course expectations. We will read and contribute to asynchronous online discussions at least 2 times a week. Now there's some keywords there I want to highlight. read and contribute. A very important feature of this course is sharing our ideas, learning from each other, having other people's ideas kind of stimulate our own thinking. And doing that at least twice a week is the minimum. If you would like to share more than twice a week, that's awesome. That's even better for everybody. It's even better for me. I learn just as much from you as you will learn from me. And the other beautiful part of this is it's asynchronous. So Erin, if you want to respond to something that Umberto says at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's fine. You can do that and you won't disturb anybody's beauty rest. That's the good part. You will read the course materials, you'll watch the video, it's a great video, and listen to podcasts. There's 5 of them and they're fantastic. You will complete the assignments, of course, and keep in mind that the week runs from Monday to Sunday. And just a little tip that is helpful to all of us, submit your work as much as possible by Friday, maybe late on Friday night. Then you'll have the 2 days to respond to your colleagues. Remember, responding to your colleagues' ideas is very much an important part of this course. And then I will have time to respond to you as well. If everything comes slamming in on Sunday night at midnight, it's going to be a little rough for everybody. So as much as possible, please try to do that. Oh, I will go back and I want to say one thing. We didn't talk about, or I didn't share what, as your facilitator, what the expectation you should have for me or I have for myself. I will read and respond to all of your work in a timely fashion, and I will be responsive to your questions and requests for help. If I don't know how to help you, I will turn to my colleagues at CalPro and ask them to help me help you. So I would like to quickly do a rundown or a shakedown of the content and required work that you are going to have the opportunity of experiencing in these next 4 weeks. So in week number 1, we have some background readings. That's always a good way to start. What is an ESL multi-level class? Kind of defining what it is and what it looks like in case you didn't know. Building class community, very important. Involving students in classroom management, which is very helpful. And planning a multi-level lesson. While we're talking about planning a multi-level lesson or any lesson planning, we have to go back to that 6 stages of the lesson plan that I referred to before. And here it is. And it spells out the acronym WIPEA, the warm-up and review, introduction, presentation, practice, evaluation, and application. Interesting little note, a little piece of history. 25 years ago, when I think I saw this for the first time, my colleagues and I said, WIPE! We didn't call it WIPEA. That was too refined. It was WIPE! So that's the lesson plan format. And remember, we're going to learn how to do strategies during these different stages. And again, anytime we're talking about lesson planning, we have to remember that we are planning with the end in mind, or backward lesson design. We think about the desired results that we want for our students, what we want them to be able to do or say or to accomplish. Then we think about the evidence that will show us that they know how to do that desired outcome. And then, and only then, do we go about planning our learning activities and our instruction. This is a design principle that is prevalent in many fields, not just education, and even in our own personal lives. So that's not going to be a big jump for us. Going on with week 1, we will go to a virtual workroom for multi-level ESL instructors with guru Jamie Adelson Goldstein. And week 1, we will have 2 podcasts with great titles. Ah, the madness. Ah, the magic. It's magical madness. Messel is magical madness. And the podcast 2 objectives and levels and content, oh my, just like Dorothy and the Cowardly Lion, following that scary path down the yellow brick road, and learning how to push through despite our messile fears. In week 2, we will watch a video demonstration of an ESL multi-level class in action, which takes a lot of the questioning out of our minds when we actually see it. Now, here's a little tip. Please do begin viewing the videos by Thursday. That is tomorrow, April 21st, so that if you have any problems accessing the videos or viewing them, it can be resolved before the weekend starts, because the CalPro people do deserve their weekends. Again, all you have to do is begin viewing, not finish viewing by the 21st. On to week 3. So we will have more background reading, and this is that golden information about grouping strategies, whole group, likability, crossability, learning and understanding how to select materials, and then back into the virtual workroom for multi-level ESL instructors with Guru Jamie for 3 more podcasts. Again, these titles are perfect because the art of orchestrating a messile class is perfect. It is like you are conducting different instruments that play different music and bringing it all together. And then for the group work, some group work is more useful than others. So learning about group work that really works is very good information. And finally, in week 3, you will begin developing a single multi-level lesson plan with differentiated objectives and learning activities. Very exciting stuff. And that is due Sunday, May 8th. Hopefully not too late on Sunday, May 8th, to give us all time to look at them. Going on to week 4, we will give feedback to colleagues about their individual single lesson plan for messile class. We will reflect and provide solutions to addressing challenges that face messile instructors. So that's always very helpful. And we will explore more resources for messile instructors. So there you have it. That's it. Do you have any questions about the content right now? If you do, you can put them in the chat. The content is truly great. And I hope this little sneak peek has gotten you even more excited about the strategies and tools that you will learn to help your students. So no questions? Let me check. I see one here. Thank you, Erin. Reminder again, how to contact CalPro if issues. If you have issues, you contact me, Erin, and then if I can't resolve those issues, I will reach out to CalPro. Grace, do you want to, or Kevin, do you want to chime in? Erin, are you saying?
Excuse me, I was specifically asking when you said view the videos before the end of the week. So right. I was looking for a quick, so I don't have to go look it up in some other note somewhere, just a quick, if we're viewing a video, because where does it, so yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I could make this way more complicated, but thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. We can all make things very complicated. There will just reach out to me. Just reach out to me, or the other person is Grace. Reach out to me, and I'll reach out to CalPro immediately and get you the help that you need. Okay, I'm an email away. Okay, Erin, is that good enough?
Well, I'm just wondering, when you're talking about these videos, when I look at the classroom, I see this week's work. I don't know what you mean by videos, viewing videos.
Yeah, that's a very good thing that you just brought up. You cannot see that until, remember, the assignments are released week by week. So you can't see it yet because it's not something that you need to do this week. Okay?
But how will I view videos by tomorrow or but before the weekend if they're not there? I don't know what videos we're talking about. Are
Yeah,
they podcasts?
there is one video that needs to be, I think that that's what they meant, the podcasts. There is one video that needs to be viewed, and that's in week 2, and we're not there yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
I agree that that was confusing. They
Thanks.
said videos, but I think they meant the podcasts, which they're podcasts, but maybe that's what it meant. I hope that
Thanks,
okay.
because I didn't see a list of videos to watch, so I was really curious as to what we were talking about. Thank you.
And
You're
if,
welcome.
and Gretchen,
Yeah,
if you don't mind me hopping on for
please
just a
do.
second as well. Um it seems, Aaron, that that you are seeing everything in week 1 now. However, um also for everyone, if you haven't completed the needs survey and the webinar 2 date and time poll, then it won't show you week 1, which includes all of the activities. If you're having any problems accessing these at any time, particularly accessing anything on the on our CalPro Moodle, please feel free to reach out to me. I put my email into the chat as well.
Oh, this is Erin again. Without belaboring the point, which I will be belaboring, it looks like this is a CalPro created presentation. I don't know, that may apply to other courses or something, but is there a way, because when it says videos, I am now looking for videos in week 1. Do you see what I mean? And so it doesn't match up with the course requirements. And so I don't know if I'm missing something, if there is a technical issue, which it turns out there isn't at all. I mean, what you just added about you have to finish something before the rest of it opens up, that's a fine point. But once everything opens up, I'm looking for something that isn't there. And it's a brief, inefficient use of time to try to figure all this out. If the slide were clearer, it might be more helpful. And everybody else might think this is a minute, unnecessary point, but it's just not correct. And so it might be helpful just to correct it, because I don't want to be looking for videos and wasting more time than I am with all my words now. So I don't mean to be I don't know, hammering it, but
Thank you, Erin.
I'm already going, where are those videos? And there's none to be had. There's 2 podcasts that I need to read. You know what I mean? So if we could match those up a little better. Anyway, that's all from me for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. We'll take another look at it, make sure that everything matches up. And if there's if there's anything that you're finding, throughout that doesn't match to, just let it send me an email, let us know as well. Thank you,
Okay,
Aaron.
I have a question. I wasn't, this is Sylvia. I wasn't able to access my Moodle, my login. So I sent an email to Victoria. Is she the right person to send it, or should I reach out to you, Kevin?
She's a great person who will be able to connect you to the Moodle immediately. So in fact, actually, if you sent it out to me, I would have connected her
Okay.
to your email. So I'm sure she'll begin, but if you sent it out yesterday or today, I'm sure that she'll be responding to you and getting you onto the Moodle ASAP.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Oh, very nice questions. Thank you very much. Good questioners. You know what they say about good questioners? Good things, all good things. Okay, so we will move right ahead. and to talk about our next topic, the importance of building class community. Sorry. So here is a quote by Jamie Adelson Goldstein, whose podcast you will be listening to. A multi-level classroom can be a learning community like no other. It has that potential, can be. So in the chat, would you please name one way or some ways that we can build class community and group identity among our students? So just put that down in the chat. I'll give you some time, and don't feel like you only can answer one time. There's only 2 or 3 of us here today that are putting things into the chat. So if you want to bombard with a few things, I can allow that. Go ahead. One way that we can build class community and group identity amongst our students. Provide opportunity for every student to participate group-wide in some way in every class. See everyone every time. That's really beautiful. Provide the opportunity for everybody to participate in some way. Thanks for sharing that, Erin. Any other ideas? Building community, create common goals. Awesome, absolutely. One of the common goals that our classrooms will have is everybody wants to learn English. They may have different reasons for wanting to learn English, but they want to. So that's a common goal. Perhaps providing opportunities for them to share about themselves, about their interests and goals, their background, their families, maybe anything else. I don't want to talk over you, but if you have any more ideas, just pop them in the chat. Otherwise, I will fill the space. How about giving responsibilities in the classroom? Taking interest in our students' lives and helping them to take an interest in each other. Sharing about countries, celebrations, holidays, maybe giving the more advanced students opportunities to have a little bit of leadership in the classroom, giving some of those leadership roles out. Perhaps working together on projects. That's another idea. Because I have the time, I want to shamelessly plug another CalPro training opportunity, learning opportunity, and that's the motivation and persistence in adult learners. Something I facilitated that for many times. And one of the things about building class community is so critically important, even more important in a MESL class, because it keeps students coming back. It increases persistence and retention. And like Sylvia said, setting appropriate goals, giving students choice and autonomy, and encouraging collaboration and cooperation. Helping our students connect with each other keeps them coming. Remember that adults find value in social opportunities as well as academic opportunities, and that's very helpful in building that community. Team building activities, yes, very, very important. All of those things. Thank you for your sharing. The other piece of this important building community puzzle is the learner's role. And Jill Bell here says that students in a multi-level class cannot be given the luxury of sitting back quietly and letting the teacher carry the burden of the responsibility. And I think this is a very critical for all adult learners, perhaps even more so for ESL and MESL. Just think about this for a minute. Learning takes action, and in a very diverse and good chaotic classroom like MESL, it takes even more new behaviors for this type of setting that will be very different and new for them. They will be asked to get out of their comfort zone, which means get out of their seats, mix with other groups, mix with people who not only come from a different culture and language and maybe religious background, but whose English level is higher or lower than them. And that can be a very scary thing. They will be asked to work on tasks that require that they communicate and collaborate with each other and solve problems. And this is very important because this mirrors the real world, does it not? That's what we have to deal with and contend with in the work world and in our communities. So providing opportunities for learners to be responsible for their own learning, individually and collectively, is extremely important. So in the chat, again, I'm going to pick your brains. Would you please give an example of what something that a learner can do to take responsibility for their own learning? So back to the chat you go. Absolutely. Ask questions. And isn't that something kind of, it's not a natural thing for our ESL students necessarily, maybe because of the cultural and the norms of their own cultures. Asking questions is something that they have to learn to do and learn that it is appropriate and even desired to do. Summarize. Summarizing is a good way of taking responsibility for their own learning. Any other ideas out there? How about SMART goals? Having goals? Identify their own strengths and areas to improve. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Aaron, thank you. How about, here's more, make learning relevant. Yes, that's the one I was waiting for. They're all good. Yeah, make what we do in the classroom relevant to their lives, important to them. Yes, communicate about attendance issues. Well, not in a punitive way, yes, absolutely. But the better attendance they have, there's a direct correlation with attendance and increase in language ability. And that has to do with the persistence and pushing through the hard times. So nice sharing. Practice outside of the classroom. Do homework. I mean, they should not just disappear, but communicate. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Erin. Be present. Come to class. All of those things. So allowing students opportunity to become this kind of learner is probably the best gift that we could give them. So thank you for your really great ideas there. So we cannot talk about the learner's role in this whole learning community process without also talking about the instructor's role, because they're two sides of the same coin, I believe. And Jill Bell says, the teacher of the multi-level class has to be prepared, wait for it, to let go of the notion that teacher is the provider of all good things. Letting go of control, letting go of wanting to have that organized classroom, that is a hard thing to do. And that is where the instructor needs to go out of her or his comfort zone as well. So we need to move from being the sage on the stage that has the full control, has those reins and won't let go of them, and having all the answers and being the only resource and being the only person of something of value to share and contribute. We need to move more to the guide on the side. So in the chat, you're already there. Can you give an example of what a guide on the side style instructor does? For starters, listens. Oh, very good. Observes, keenly observes, and listens with heart and mind and eyes and ears. Encourages. Once again, asks questions. Ask the students what they need. Ask them what they want. Perhaps, too, helping them to get to the point where they don't need to be spoon-fed things. Keep the group focus. Let students lead, perhaps. Be the clarifier. Perhaps let students lead some of the discussions. More of a teacher as a coach or a facilitator, the person or entity that creates the community and tries to keep that community alive. Maybe the sounding board allows students to explore and be independent. I love that, Sylvia. That is so true and so important. Thank you for sharing. So here's a few more ideas along this level of building community and for learners becoming the learners that they need to be to create optimum learning. A good student should blank, a good teacher should blank. I think that oftentimes what a good student should do is the same thing that a good teacher should do. We're all learners and all teachers, especially in a multi-level ESL classroom. There's going to be plenty of people that can take on teaching roles. So another idea is that these types of ideas about a learner's role or what a learner does and what a teacher does and what it should look like, these can become ground rules, or they can somewhat become the norms of your class. For example, I will come to class prepared, ready to participate, engage in learning, facilitate and help the learning of others. And I just want to suggest that we, the students and the teacher, I think it pretty much looks the same. How about, is there any difference between what the students will do in sharing the airtime, coming to class prepared, or staying off my phone, being on time, respecting others? I think it's one and the same. And it's a ground rules for the entire learning community that starts perhaps with the teacher as example and the students following in time. Those are some ideas and suggestions by Andy Nash. So going back to the webinar objectives, this is just a very short 1 hour time that we've had to gather here. And we've covered a few things. We were to develop a community of online colleagues. Well, we have a community of 3 plus Kevin and Grace, right? A community of 3 or 4. That's a community. It only takes 2. We, I think, got a better understanding of how this online course works. Those were our objectives. And we were to explore instructor and student roles in a MESL class. So, poll number 2, were these objectives just for today? Were they met? You are going to be forced to say yes or no, no, somewhat, or maybe, or a little bit aloud. I'm sorry. I guess you could abstain from saying anything at all. Yes, we got 3 for 3. Excellent. Well, I'm so glad. Great. Stop sharing. I'm glad that those 3 objectives were met. We did our job. Those are yes, no, yes. And so then in the chat, I'd really like to know, I'm sure Kevin would like to know too, what was the most helpful thing in this webinar? If you could just put that in the chat for me, please. I know what my answer is. So what was the most helpful in the webinar? Was it seeing each other face to face? Discussion of class community? Yes. Thank you, Erin. I believe everything starts there. I'm an old dinosaur ESL teacher, and I could never have had the success, or helped, better said, help my students have the success that they achieved without creating that community. It just all starts there. So the discussion of class community. For me, I like to see the big picture of the course content. That's very helpful to me, to see where we're going and see some of the things. Okay, so if nobody else wants to share, thank you. Oh, the discussion of ways to build community and the lesson design steps. Wonderful. I'm glad that you found that helpful. I'm very glad. Thank you. So our next steps in week 1, which is coming up, well, we are in week 1 and Sunday is our end completion date. So complete those week 1 activities by Sunday, April 24th. Hard to believe that's only 4 days away. And week 2, begin those activities on Monday, April 25th. And let's connect again online. Let's be those collegial pen pals and learn more from each other. I can't wait to hear more from each of you and all of the other participants as well. Thank you for being here. You're the best. You guys made it. Yay for you. And I'm going to stop sharing so we can wave to each other. Oops, one more comment here. Let me see. I have a question. Great, Erin, hold that thought for a minute. I'm going to stop sharing so we can look at each other face to face. Hold on. Here we all are. And please, Erin, your question? You're muted.
Hi, thank you. This is I don't know what kind of question. You know, students have varying levels of ability with their English skills, listening, speaking, writing, all that. I'm wondering, when I hear high and low, beginning, advanced, that's a label that can affect a learner. And I don't have that much experience with using the lingo, and I don't want to get into a habit of assuming that because a test put them somewhere that I should have that label. I don't like that. Anyway, so high low is a hierarchy, beginner is a judgment. They could be speaking English for a long time. I'm not sure of the best effective way. I'm not talking about political correctness. I'm talking about an effective way to communicate with a student where they are, to encourage them to continue and not feel that they're not somewhere. Or do you understand what I'm getting at here?
I do hear you. And of course, yeah, I have a lot of years of having to be sensitive to this issue. I have a few things to say about that, and I'm looking at the time. First of all, when we do group, I know you didn't really ask this, but these are the things, Erin, that were going through my head rapid fire when you were asking and presenting your ideas. One, the grouping strategies enables us to group people according to their abilities. And some students are really good speakers and some are not. So that's something that we will be looking at more closely, that ability to group people according to their abilities. Let's say you're working on a speaking and listening activity. Well, they might be in another group. The other thing that I want to say is you don't need to, in the whole class environment, you don't have to say, this is my high group, this is my low group. Now, this is just teacher Gretchen speaking off the top of her head. You can have groups A, B, C, D, or groups 1, 2, 3, 4, and you know what they are, or the yellow group and the orange group and the pink group and the purple group. And over time, the students are going to clue in that, okay, if it's purple group and I'm in the purple group for speaking and listening, I know that the purple group of speakers who are not as good as the green group, they'll figure it out, but there's not a label if you're uncomfortable with labels. So that's a suggestion. And the other thing that I want to say about I think that Sylvia shared about the students knowing their strengths and their areas that need improvement. I think as human beings, as learners, as we all are as human beings, we should be, that's something that we need to help them learn about themselves. Because without that knowledge, they don't know where they need to go. And from what I have read and the research and my experience tells me is that they need to know where they are, and how you present that in an open and inclusive and talking about it in an exciting way, that this is the journey, this is where you are, but this is your journey and you're going to be here someday with the right amount of practice and perseverance and not giving up even when you plateau out. So yeah, there's all kinds of tips and tricks, and just lead with your heart, Erin, lead with your heart. These are things that I believe adults need to know. You can show them the continuum, and privately show them the continuum where they are on their CASAS scores, or where you think they are and where you know that they can go. Always present it in a hopeful way. I hope I scratched the surface of that very complex question. Somebody's in the chat. And the students do appreciate the feedback. Well, I'm so glad you said that, Sylvia, because you're making me think of something else that's in the motivation and persistence for adult learners. When you guys finish this, multi-level course, please do consider taking the motivation and persistence course when it comes back out in CalPro. It was transformative for me, even as an old dinosaur teacher, it was transformative. The feedback is critically important for us. We need feedback. We need positive feedback. We need real feedback. We need timely feedback. And they can't get to where they need to go without honest feedback, kind and realistic, honest feedback. Thank you, Sylvia, for reminding me of that. That is research-based. I think that we just have a few more minutes, and I don't think I'm the closure here. I think maybe Grace is the true closure, but if there's anything else you wanted to say, or you're welcome, Erin. I'm very glad you're here. Okay.
If there are no more questions, then I can close things out.
Can I just say something about our our participant colleague, Umberto. He's already online and already been chiming in. He got called in at the last minute to substitute teach. So he logged on in the hope that he could get out of that, but apparently he hasn't been able to. But just a shout out to Umberto for joining us and being very hopeful that you'd be able to, but he's already online with us. So from here on out, we are going to see each other online, being the best pen pal MES, MS, I can't even say it anymore, MESL ESL instructors that ever wanted to share. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I just put the link to the evaluation in the chat, so please feel free to complete that webinar evaluation when you have the time. Also a reminder that the session is recorded, and that recording will be posted in the webinar 1 makeup assignment in Moodle on one business day if you'd like to rewatch it. And also there's a poll in Moodle for you to vote in for the date and time for the next webinar, for webinar 2. That'll be open until the end of this week, so feel free to vote there for when the next part will take place. And thank you to everyone for joining and participating today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Grace. And thank you, Kevin. And thank you for all 3 of you. I'll see you online.
All right, bye.
Bye.